Welcome back to the Homestock Gourmet Butchers YouTube channel. My name's Jared. I'm just going to give you a rundown on how to slice out a scotch if you were to purchase a whole cryovac scotch at your local butcher shop. So the first thing you're going to want to do is cut it out of its bag. Now obviously, depending on what sort of scotch you've got is going to be dependent on whether it's going to have a soaker pad in there or not. But if it doesn't, it's going to have a little bit more excess blood, and you will need to pad that dry with paper towel, tea towel, face washer, whatever you've got. It doesn't really matter, just as long as you get rid of that excess blood so it doesn't slip and slide around on your bench. So what I like to do here is I just like to go over this back piece of muscle on the scotch, which is called the chain, and I'll just make sure that I'm removing any excess fat, any little bone fragments or chips, and any bark that's been left on when the boning process occurred. Now by all means, if you're at home, leave that on. It doesn't have to come off, it just improves the quality of the steak. By taking it off, you're also getting a little bit of scraps that you can either chuck into some homemade sausages, or you can give it to your pets, whether it be dog or cat. Also, if you are doing this at home, just try and take little bits off at a time. You want to avoid cutting into that meat too much. So if you're not real confident with the knife, just take little tiny bits at a time off until you've gotten back to the muscle and you've removed that fat and sinew. Now I'm just removing a little bit of excess fat here from underneath the scotch. Now this doesn't have to come off, I'm only doing it just for window presentation. If you were at home, you would completely leave that on. So as you roll it over to slice it, you see the fat layer that's facing me, that one there you want to leave alone. That's what's keeping the two muscles together and it stops them from falling apart. Now being that this is for window presentation in the shop, I will be taking a face cut off here, but that's not necessary if you're at home. You can just start slicing. If you do want to, you can cut some thinner ones from the start and just get some sandwich steak slices rather than cut that face cut. But I would just recommend just taking a first slice straight off the bat. I wouldn't worry about doing a face cut. So I like to slice from the right to left rather than left to right. I find that by holding my non-dominant hand on the meat and then slicing towards it, it just keeps that actual bulk muscle stable and stops it moving around as much. Now when you are slicing these at home, you obviously have the option to cut them to whatever thickness you want, whether that be thick or thin. I would recommend when you get close to the end here, just spacing out your last few steaks just to ensure you know how many steaks you're going to get out of it. That will avoid you having one or two steaks that are different size to the rest, and they'll all be nice and uniform. The beauty about these scotches is they are very versatile in whether or not you want to cut stock standard steaks, sandwich steaks, or even leave half of it as a roast. A scotch is definitely a great option to buy as a whole piece and slice yourself. You can see that there's very minimal wastage and it's very simple to slice out in comparison to other steaks. You'll see here when I'm actually traying it up for display in the window, I'll lay it so that the major muscle is to the outside of the tray. That way when I do a second layer or I do a tiered layer on top, it's going down the center and running over the top of the major parts of the fat. That's just making it a lot more visually appealing to the customer's eye and not having a big bit of fat on display. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this gives you a bit of a handy hint if you want to purchase a scotch in your local butcher shop and slice it at home.